All right, and then
Okay,
there we go.
do it.
I live in debt, I'll die indebted to your hope. Born again, I swear I wouldn't breathe a word. If you can find me, take me back and make me whole. We're a circus, ruin my body with your corpse. So can you help me
That song's gonna be stuck in my head. I keep
I
forgetting.
don't
Like I
see
always
the
pick.
I don't hear the music on my end.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay.
No.
Well, okay. Well, it's gonna be stuck in my head. Um, Hello, everybody. Okay, we don't have anyone in here yet, which makes me sad, but I know people are going to start
Hmm.
joining. But
Yes.
that's okay. We also started late because we were talking about life and roommates and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
but
Catch up on a ten
anyway,
second catch up.
yeah. Mel was just like, "Wait a minute, don't we have to go live?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's why we do this."
Yeah, we forgot we had a purpose.
Yeah. But otherwise, I wouldn't like get on live to see her ever. Okay, everybody. Hello, welcome to the sixth installment of Crafty Mess, where we craft, chit chat, most importantly, talk about all the hottest topics on social media and pop culture. I have Mel here, and it looks like she's working on a different yarn project
No,
today.
it's still the same one.
Yeah, but last week was the pillow, and then this
Yeah,
week
yeah,
you're
yeah.
switching
I'm
back
just
to the.
I'm swinging back to the blanket. Yeah.
Okay,
My sister is her baby due in June, so I really do need to get this done. It's taking forever.
but like
Yeah,
it's only March, so
that's true. I have some time. But like yeah,
yeah.
the pillow proof one just takes about I think I was done with it maybe within like 30 minutes. Like I was halfway done with it on our last chat.
Yeah.
I just had to like stuff it, which yeah, it was just easy enough.
Are you going to give the poof to your sister too? No, those are just going to be
No,
for your
that's
home.
mine.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's for my bed.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you have to like make something for yourself for the whole crafting thing to be worth it.
Yeah, right.
Uh, yeah. Well,
What?
I am switching back to the little star banner.
Oh, those are
Um,
so cute. Look at
yeah,
that.
I really need to string them together with like little pom poms and
Okay.
stuff. Remember last
Yeah.
time we did it? Like I cut my finger.
Oh
And
my
so I
gosh.
didn't, yeah, and I didn't really want to get too into it because I didn't want to like
Sure.
bleed all over the stuff. And then like
Yeah,
on top of that,
yeah,
like I didn't have a band-aid. So I'm gonna try to finish this up today as best as I can. But
Are you
okay, so
sending that
before
to her? Okay.
yes, I am. And then I'm probably gonna send her a
Okay.
gift card and stuff too. So
Oh, I think that's a really great
yeah.
gift.
Yeah, I know it's like 4 months late, but whatever. It's it's
The
like a
thought that
handmade gift.
counts. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't hit my handcrafting gifts very on time, but everything else I always do really well on time. I feel like you know me, like my checklist and my flow charts and stuff. I'm always on top of it. But then
Yeah,
like it
right?
comes,
You're just type A in that sense.
yeah, but when it comes to presents and stuff, I'm like 6 months later. you know um but yeah, before we start, I do want to remind everyone that these are just opinions. We are watching the stories unfold as it goes along, and we're just kind of sharing our thoughts and stuff. Obviously our thoughts are not golden. You can definitely come up with your own, and we do want to hear what you think of it as well in the chat if
Mm,
you can join.
mm-hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, obviously, if we have references and stuff, then we will
Mm.
make note of that.
Yeah,
And
and
then,
definitely, yeah, above all, just please keep in mind and realize that these are our opinions and we do not condone harassment on any channels. So yeah, if you have any comments or whatnot, just share them in this video, and then yeah, we'll be able to like impart whatever our thoughts are on the process. But again, yeah, this is all based on opinion.
impart our wisdom, because
Impart
whatever we
our
say,
wisdom.
yeah, because clearly we've lived many lives already.
Centuries. Like we
Yes,
look
yeah.
so good for our age.
We're witches, just never like
Right? Reincarnation.
exactly. But I think the whole like harassment disclaimer thing, it kind of ties in with like our two stories today because
Yes.
it's a lot. So I think Mel, do you want to introduce the first story?
Which should we start with the main one?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
the first story, obviously everyone is talking about it, and I'm sure you guys have by the title and the thumbnail, is the Harry and Meghan's interview with Oprah. I've been watching like maybe I think it was the early part of this week and then late of last week, where I was just seeing tidbits of it on TikTok, and just some of it was just like, wait, what? Wait, what? Like I could not understand. I mean, I guess I have an inkling, but it just never like dawned on me that it was completely that it could be true or that this could happen in a monarchy. And let's not, we have to also mention like how there's still a monarchy, like in this day and age. How is there still a monarchy? Like it just doesn't make any sense. But I don't know if any one of you guys saw the whole thing, but KL sent me the video the other day and I watched it fully last night. And there were just some things I'm just like stunned, just stunned beyond belief. I don't know, like what should we like delve into first? There's just so many.
Oh gosh. Okay, let me see. I did highlight a couple things.
Okay.
Quick trigger warning. We do talk about mental health,
Yes,
suicidal
true.
ideation, depression and stuff. So if it is going to be something that brings up emotions and stuff for you, definitely I would say click off and protect your emotions and your mental health. I say protect that first before entertainment. And
Yep.
so that's just like a first thing that I want to throw out there. And so I guess we can talk about the monarchy aspect. Like, I I don't know why I giggle every time I think about like me going down the rabbit hole.
Because
It's
you
like
are so good at that.
am I good at it or is it like becoming a problem? Like,
Um,
so I guess I want to know like
I think your
how.
type A is very thorough.
Yeah, it's thorough, but it's also like I think I really want to understand how something happens because like when you just hear a story, you're just like, wait a minute. And I think
Yeah.
that's very true with a lot of things. Like when you think about how people fall in love with certain partners and they turn out to be abusive, or when people fall into cults and things like that. And so I
Mhm.
just really want to know how like the progression of that happens. So the royal family, and obviously we're American, so we don't know a lot about the UK. So if any of you guys like want to leave a comment and kind of like
Mhm.
walk us through all of that because we still don't understand what it is exactly.
Mhm.
So from what I understand is that like the royal family is obviously a family, but they're also kind of like a family business, like Megan explained in a doc.
Yeah.
And so like how it works is that there's like the firm or the institution, which is the business side, which is pretty much it's almost like they are the face or the brand of the country, right? um and so I guess like there's this like theory that's out there that they work in a very symbiotic relationship with the press, so they give the press like certain details about the royal family, and then the royal family tries to get good press from them and things like that. So I think that's interesting because it's like it's like you fall into this trap, right? Where, and I think it's not just even the royal family. I think it's every family. If you think about in our little community, where like sometimes your own family would try to present themselves a certain way in like at your church or at your community, in your neighborhood, at school, and I think it's just human nature to not put your dirty laundry out there,
Yeah.
except the
It's also about
right.
saving face. In Asian culture, it's all about saving face. you know, a lot of like topics that are very sensitive, like should be discussed behind closed doors, you know, and like you want to put on a good face for the public. But then it's also where one is like you should never talk about, you know, someone's like I guess in a sense it's always a surprise when something bad happens to a family, because they've always put on a good front. So there is a good and bad thing to that. I
Hmm.
say, I don't know. I say like if you have close friends that you could like talk about these things, that's better. But never, definitely, never create a scene, a bad scene when that happens. And just make your family, the whole family, look bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's tough, especially in like a family dynamic where even like when they were talking about Archie's skin color, like
Yeah.
what his skin color was going to be like, and Oprah asked Megan, um, she was just like, so who,
Who
like,
said it?
yeah, who said it? And Megan was just like, I don't want to
Yep.
say because it's going to be very harmful to them. Because again,
Yeah.
it still protects, right? Um, I
And
guess,
I actually definitely like there's a lot of, I mean, I watched it with sort of like a like an open eye because you hear stories of like, you know, your heart goes out to Megan, but then you hear other people like bring down that interview saying that, oh, she's a great actress and she's just, you know, she's playing a part and it's just lies and things like that. But you cannot, for all the other things that lead up to her character, make her seem like she's a bad person, you know, because in the end she was still suffering.
yeah, exactly. And also, if you like from what I know of Megan, because she started out on like a game show as a game show.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. It
The
was the
first time I
one
knew
where
of
like had
her was Suits.
suits. Yeah, well, she
Yes.
started on the game show. She was in the it was the one with the suitcases where you kind of guess how much money was in the
Oh my gosh,
suitcase, and
yes, yes, I remember that one. Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Wasn't
yeah.
it
So
like
she was
how to be a
no, it wasn't how to
millionaire?
be. No, 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 no.
No.
It was another. It was called some. It was
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
It but like I used to love it,
Yes.
and then
Yeah, me
I didn't
too.
know she was on there. Just you saw a bunch of the girls holding the suitcases and
Yeah.
opening it up. You don't really like look into
I
who is who.
actually knew about that, but I forgot about it because I think in the middle of Suits is when like did you know, I bumped into an article. Did you know that she, you know, and I remember and I
Ah,
was like, "Oh my gosh," and then I forgot. And then when you
yeah, and
brought it
then
up, I remember.
obviously Suits, which I was really into for a little bit
Oh
there, and then kind
yeah.
of got a little dry at the end. Um,
I watched it
and
fully.
oh, you did? Oh, I didn't get
Yeah.
to. I think I got through four.
Yeah, I did watch it towards the very end because they eventually I think USA the last season I watched it up to until the last season. They didn't put it on like you had to pay for it, but then recently
Uh,
they did open it up, so I was able to finish the whole thing. And
mhm.
unfortunately, I didn't like the ending that much.
Uh,
So,
I
but
don't. I don't know
whoever
if I.
likes a series finale,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Game of Thrones was like a huge
oh, I didn't watch
letdown. Yeah,
that.
I'm still very upset. It's something that I need to heal in therapy about.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so yeah, she was on Suits, but then and then like after Suits, she did a lot of like philanthropical work, and that's how she met Harry.
Yeah.
So she can't be like
She can't be all bad. For someone who's so into like philanthropy and who loves animals, who wants to rescue them, like having a chicken farm on her
yeah,
on her property and like
yeah.
rescuing dogs from kill shelter. Like, how can a bad person really be doing that? And like, if you
y-
cannot fake that crap.
yeah, and I think the thing is like I really don't think there's like good or bad people as much as what other people paint you as, right? Like
Yep.
remember when
Yep.
Angelina Jolie was like a celebrity at was as still is when she
Yeah.
first started to come up, and she was adopting all of her children and stuff, and she's always been very philanthropic, but people just made her out to be this like vixen and all, and just painted her really horribly as well. So it's like when it comes to media and the press, you just don't know. Maybe there are certain aspects of Meghan's experience in the royal family maybe it might have not been what she perceived it to be, and and that can happen too, because sometimes our own perception can be a little bit different, but it doesn't mean that it's not her truth, right? Like, and it does not mean that it's not how she felt at that time. Just I know feelings aren't like quote unquote facts, but at the
Yeah.
same time, like that was her reality. Like that is what she
Yeah.
felt, that is what she lived, and I think we can't just discount that as her trying to act or whatever, or her mental health was not.
Well,
um
like, and then you think about it, is she was, sort of like, she pretty much uprooted her whole life from, like, she lived in Canada before, right? But even like between Canada and US, like, we definitely at least have freedom, a sense of like, speech, freedom of voice, choice, like for women, like women's rights. She's always advocated for women's rights, and then going from that type of atmosphere into a sense into another like realm where you are pretty much living in like gilded cage. You are
yeah,
supposed to be taught a certain way, be spoken like, have to be put on a good face, have to like uphold the whole monarchy. You're the face of that now, but I don't know. And she didn't have anyone there to confide in who's going through the exact same thing that she's going through. Because like, her life from the outside point of view looks like a fairy tale. She met a
yeah,
prince,
yeah,
they got engaged, and then now she married a prince, and you're supposed to live happily ever after. You didn't think that you always have to watch your every move, and like, and also
yeah,
be like, what's the word, vilify, or just be
yeah,
like rent, like have your name completely be like tarnished in the British tabloids. Like, that's just, and you would hope that your family would be out there to protect you, and they weren't doing that. They
yeah.
The stories between her and Kate was just astounding. Like, it just didn't make any sense to me. And when they brought up race, it just, that made sense, like, why did they say one thing for Kate? They like praised her for it, but then they like completely, made Megan to be the opposite end of that spectrum, like making her to be a bad person. For example, eating avocado for one of her strengths, and like Megan is eating avocado, and yet she is like killing. She's being part of the deforestation, and she was talking about that's a loaded toad. That is true. She
Seriously.
Her behavior is the same like throughout and consistent, and yet she's like, I don't know. She's just being tortured, or her actions are just human.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that like when you have that many eyes on you, when you're supposed to
Yeah,
represent a country, you
it has
do,
to
you
be
get
consistent.
scrutinized. Yeah, and you get scrutinized, you get picked apart. I think the same, I mean, the same happened with the Obama family.
Yeah.
They're, like, especially with their daughters and stuff, it's like
Oh
people were
yeah.
constantly like watching over what Sasha and
Mm-hmm.
who's her, oh, what's her other name? It's not
Is it
Mal,
something starts
not
with an
Malal,
M, right? No, no.
Malal, uh,
I forgot.
Mal, okay, yeah. So like they were always constantly being watched under the microscope, but they're just being like regular high school, college kids, you know.
And same thing
Um,
with Michelle Obama. Like, she's a very classy lady, and she
oh
has done
yeah,
lots of stuff, and yet people like, compared to her to a monkey or orangutan. And I think
yeah.
that's just so mean.
That's
It is
horrifying.
horrible.
It's
Like, it
disgusting. It's
is.
embarrassing.
Yeah.
I if that person was like in the same room as me, I don't
Oh
know if
my
I would be
gosh.
able to like not throw a glass of water at them if they said something like that. It's just awful.
Yeah,
Um,
it is awful.
and the whole Megan like
She is
interview though,
probably the
she was,
most, yeah,
first of all, Megan is, Megan and Michelle Obama are absolutely gorgeous women. Like I don't
right.
like, they're absolutely beautiful. And the second thing is like Megan kind of, she did talk about the racial aspect of it, but it also felt like she was being very reserved because she
Yep.
didn't want to throw the royal family under the bus as like they're racists, right?
Yep.
But she,
Yep.
but there are like not race. I don't. I guess not racist, but there are bias undertones,
Yeah.
right? That right now should be addressed. I think,
And that's the
especially
thing,
when
like,
it.
yeah, because if you don't
Oh,
address it, and is where she was silent or silent for so many years, and it's almost like if you don't address it, like they would use the same old excuse. It's always been done this way.
yeah,
Well, if that
exactly.
was the
And
case, if we had used that very same phrase so many years ago, we would still be backwards and living it back in the days when like you know um African American and like that they're slaves, right? Like that's not something that it doesn't help change come forward if it's always done this way. Well, if it's not
yeah,
right, there should be a change.
yeah, and I think this idea of setting precedents, like I it whatever Megan does, it's always going to be
An
she's
issue.
gonna yeah, she's gonna upset someone, right? Let's
Yep.
say she didn't say anything, let's say Megxit didn't happen, then going in the future, let's say someone else end up marrying a mixed race and then their children are not going to have the title of prince or princess, then they could be like, oh well,
They never even gave a
Duchess,
reason.
yeah, and but then they could be like, oh well, Duchess Meghan was okay with this, so now you have to be okay with it because
Yes.
Meghan is setting the example. Man,
Yeah.
now that she's doing, but that's like, let's say that she didn't do Megxit, but now that she is doing Megxit, like people are going, oh well, she's tearing Harry from the family and la la
Yeah.
la, and it's just like no matter what she does, she's always going to be in the wrong to
Yeah.
certain people. I think that this choice that I don't think it's just her choice. Like clearly from the interview, it seems like it was a very like mutual husband
Yeah.
and wife decision. It wasn't
Yeah.
like,
And
they
it
made it.
wasn't sudden. It was a 2-year process. They prepared the monarchy for
Yeah, and I
that.
mean there were certain things that the monarchy did to them that was sudden, like removal of security.
Yeah,
Um, so I was
which I
telling my
find
partner,
wrong.
yeah, it was very what? Especially during like the pandemic when they were like sitting ducks in Canada and everyone knew
Yeah,
where they were living. Like that is a
but to do that to your family, like I understand that if they had done that to Meghan, but to also do that to Harry,
oh no, that was a D move.
like
Like it was just
what the hell? That's your
yeah, it was
that's actually your son, like your grandson.
yeah, and so that's the thing is like did Prince Charles his father do this, or is it like the institution, or is it both, or is it just the institution and Prince Charles
It's
didn't have
all
anything to say with, like
no one.
it's very
Yeah.
it's messy, right? Like it's messy, and
It's all done to me from an outside point of view. It's all done of punishment to leave
yeah,
your duties.
honestly, like let's not even talk about the royal family. Let's like talk about your own family. Like if I like
Yeah.
right now, my parents, they have a will and I'm like on it and stuff and whatever, great, okay, wonderful. But at the same time, like I don't. That's the reason why, like I think me working and having my own finances and making sure my family is like cared for and stuff is important because I don't want to, as much as I love my parents, they still have certain not rules, but like expectations that I don't want to always have to abide by.
Yeah.
And if that like will is going to be hung over my head, then it's like that's not the relationship I want to have with you guys. Like I'm your
shouldn't
daughter
be controlled
because,
by money or assets or things like that. It should be
yeah.
giving without strings attached.
Yeah, exactly. And on the flip side, as a parent, let's say if I did have two kids, right? Like regardless if one of them like really annoyed me or whatever, as a parent, it's like I don't think I would take away, their right to my will or whatever. Yeah. It's either you guys all get a fair share or I'm bearing it with me,
You
or
can't
I'm
take
gonna
it with you after you die,
or it's all going to charity or something,
Yeah.
but like I like even in our own family, like that stuff is messy too, you know. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine how much more the stakes would be with like a royal family, you know, how much more
Good
important it is
Lord.
to have to, yeah, to like save that, like the face and the image and stuff. And I mean, even Megan said like there was a time when she didn't leave the court for like like
She
for
wasn't
four
even
months or
allowed
something.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like that is like the
It's a
loneliest.
gilded cage.
Yeah, it is the loneliest experience I could
So
imagine.
lonely. Yeah.
I- And I don't think she was able to like talk to her family and friends freely either, because those things would have
Right.
to be monitored because they don't want stories to be leaked, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you imagine that like every single person you talk to like had to be like ran past the family or the business?
Well, I would also kind of liken that to like the family of if you're a president, you know, your
Yeah,
family goes through the same thing, the same
yeah,
protocol, you know. But the difference is that here in the U.S., you're not freaking in a cage. You can still go about your life as per normal, and like you know, like I mean, the Obama family definitely had their fair share of like being in the tabloids, but I don't think it is as much as what Meghan went through in the British tabloids. Like to
yeah.
that sense,
But
I
I
don't think.
Yeah, but I also think that there was like the presidency was like, you know, his office was his office and his family was his family. It was two separate things. It wasn't together, you know, because like when you're speaking of the royal family, it's like the business and the family together. But like when you're
Yeah,
talking
that's
about
true.
um, President Obama, you know, his job was his job. It just so happened that he had his family live in the White House. It was very, I feel like it's a little bit more defined in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where it's almost like, okay, look, I am the president, my children are not fair game though. But like when it comes to the royal family, it's different. It's like, well, you are part of the royal family, your children are going to be a part of it, and your dogs and everything,
They
whoever
should.
works for you are going to like, it's not.
What what I don't understand is that if they had a problem with Meghan from the very start, why did they even like, you know, go through with the whole thing? Go through with him marrying her and then having a baby and all that stuff, and all of this is gonna at the end be like this. You know, like if they weren't even going to plan on giving Archie a title, like
Yeah,
what was the point? If you were
yeah,
so against this from the very beginning, I would think that they would have like tried some way to maybe not even have him marry Megan. I don't know if that's a good way, but at least she wouldn't have felt like she was imprisoned this whole
yeah.
time and having to go through this mental breakdown.
And here's the thing is that like we don't know if that was a conversation that was happening. We don't know that. Like we don't
we
know
yeah
if
we
there,
don't.
yeah. So maybe there was a conversation that was just like, hey, Harry, this might not look good for the family. But he was just like, I don't care. I love her anyways. Let me do this. You know? And they're just like, okay, fine, we're not gonna rile up the press for something that might or might not happen, right? And then it's like, oh, well then they got engaged. And then they're like,
Well,
okay.
so here's another thing that I had thought about, like because there was another TikTok video saying how they believe, and again, this is probably maybe news to some of us, but apparently it wasn't news to the British people. But apparently Prince Harry is not is not is it King Charles? Yeah, right. Oh,
Yeah. Prince
Prince
Charles.
Charles. Prince Charles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that he was not his legitimate son. Did you hear about that one?
Oh, Harry was not
So
Charles. Oh,
yeah, so I don't understand how like he was still within the family, but Princess Diana in the middle like with when during her marriage with Prince Charles, she had a 5-year relationship affair with this jockey. And
yeah.
when you look between, if you put a side face to face a comparison between the two, like Prince Harry and him, they have the same likeness between
Yeah.
that smile and like and he's redhead. And apparently on
Uh,
Prince Charles' side, there were no redheads, and Princess Diana. Apparently,
oh.
she had some family that were that were redheads, but she herself is blonde. But
Uh-huh.
redheads are hereditary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, between Prince William and Prince Charles, you could see the difference between the two. It's like night and day. They don't
Yeah.
look like
Yeah.
each other. And I wonder if
Yeah.
that was the case, if maybe that's the reason why he was uh not um treated the same way.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Because they knew
Uh,
that he was like in some way they knew that he was not the legitimate son of Prince Charles.
see, like I haven't heard that, but that kind of makes sense. But I also have heard that like they have a stepsister that is not very prevalent in the royal press that you
Really?
don't really, yeah, yeah. And I don't know if it's true or not, allegedly again.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, it's like a half sister. And I listened to this conspiracy podcast a long time ago about Princess Diana and her death
Yeah.
and obviously her her affair and I mean I think Prince Charles had his own thing too, as
Of
far as I
course. So he
know.
should not really be,
Yeah, yeah. But again, it's okay. It's that stuff is like whatever. It's when you're marrying for like the family or for the title or whatever, like that stuff is just I feel like it's just part of like I don't even know what to
Mm-hmm.
think about. I think I've just seen it so much in like so many different cultures um
Yeah.
that I'm not even surprised. And to me, like if like a press runs a story that so and so is cheating on so and so, or they have like a side family or whatever, like it wouldn't even like phase me, to be honest. Like it wouldn't be something that I'm interested in. um
No, yeah, it didn't faze me.
is yeah,
I'm just looking at Prince Charles, and it's just like,
it
yeah, I
kind
can
of
understand why an affair should happen because he's not the most handsome dude on this planet, and like how long can he really be like keeping it up?
And I mean, like,
So,
don't even get me started on Edward, the one who used to hang out with what's his name, Epstein.
oh wait, so what is the story behind that? Because I kind of read that somewhere, and I was just like, wait, what? They kind of glossed over.
Yeah, yeah. Well, obviously, because they're trying to like sweep it under the rug. Yeah, apparently,
Yeah.
Prince Edwards is okay. Hold on, wait. Let me see. Okay, so Prince Edwards is Prince Charles' brother.
Prince Charles' brother. Uh-huh.
Prince Charles is the father of William and Harry,
Right.
if I'm getting that right. Yeah.
Yes.
And so Edward used to hang out with Epstein on his like, little private jet, which is the same jet that Clinton used to hang out on. And this is all allegedly, by the way. So Hillary, if you're listening to this.
Allegedly.
I'm just
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
what
yeah,
I've read. I don't know. Like, hey,
These
just
are all
throwing that out.
opinions.
Yeah, opinions. I have no idea. Like, I'm pretty sure, wink, wink, this might not be true. um, um, yeah, so, so he used to hang out with Epstein, and there are like photos of some of the 15-year-old girls that was like hanging around Edwards. And
Oh.
one of the girls said that the guy that she was with was of a very important family that we all know of. And she was 15 or 16 at the time. And
Oh.
she said that he was like a very sweaty man. And I
Oh
guess people found
no.
yeah, people found photos of Edwards like at like events and stuff of him being like extra sweaty and like going and they're like, it has to
Um,
be him. But there's still photos of him hanging out with Epstein. Like that is an actual photo. But like I thought
okay.
it was funny that she said that, and then they found photos of him being sweaty, and then they kind of like
You don't, I
mend the two.
mean, come on. You don't want to be with someone who's like extra sweaty. Like I didn't go on a second date with this guy because he completely sweated over his ramen or no, his hot pot.
Oh no, poor
And I was just like,
guy.
No, if he's this sweaty eating hot, imagine what else he could be so sweaty. And
Oh
I
no.
just couldn't. I couldn't say. I was like, nope, pass.
Just preference wise, that's not your cup
Right?
of tea. Yeah.
No, not so much. Not so much.
Oh, poor guy.
I know. I hope he's not
Oh,
watching
poor.
this.
I know, poor guy. Nothing against you. It's just,
Right.
yeah, yeah. It's just like it's her preference. Well, um, it's the same with like hairy guys too. And
Yeah,
and then I end up with my partner who's like a
a
bear, and
bear.
I love, yeah, and I love it. So the
Right.
shedding, the shedding is kind of a problem
Oh
between him
no,
and
he's worse than a woman.
he sheds more than the cats, like
What?
literally,
Well,
literally.
to be fair, your cat is still considered they're like kittens, so they actually don't get into the shedding phase until older. So don't let's
Oh,
wait
okay,
until that
okay.
happens.
Let's wait. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let's wait.
Um, okay, let's wait and see, and then I'll come back and we'll do an update. Yeah, with my vacuum or something. But no, he sheds, but I mean it's preference and but the yeah, she did say the whole sweating thing. And so like, they
Oh
try to really like,
no.
kind of hide that and so it wasn't big when the story came out. It was just like, oh, okay, well then Epstein's in jail and all this other stuff, but like they weren't, kind of focusing on Edward. It was very
Well,
swept
yes,
away.
but everything else with like their side of the family, they're like even on the most minuscule thing, they would go out to the press and try to like, have something glossed over, whatever. Oh, it says movie
Hmm.
recording has stopped.
Oh, yeah, my camera's being weird.
Oh, okay.
It thinks it's
So
recording, so.
oh, okay. They'll like have it over, but when it comes to Meghan, none of that stuff happened. They
Okay,
just let
so
the tabloids run wild.
here's my conspiracy theory here.
Okay.
Okay, so when
Oh, wait.
Meghan,
I know where I'm going with this.
you know where it's going, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
When Meghan and Harry started dating, that's when the whole Epstein stuff started
Okay.
to really
Yep.
take off,
That
right?
makes sense.
And so when Prince Edward was kind of like a part of that, I feel
Yeah.
like the whole the Markle sparkle was supposed to be something that overshined that
They
thing, that
used
pushed it
her.
away.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, I think that like would make so much more sense.
That does make
By the
sense
way,
now.
just tinfoiling here. We're not saying that this is real.
No, that makes complete sense because they needed another big story to cover that story.
Yes, yes, I really do. And now that like people aren't talking about Prince Edward as
Yeah.
much, I feel like okay, now we can try to throw her under the bus. It's not like we were really, okay with it. It was just that like this was lesser than this other evil,
Oh my gosh. I can see it
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it's very it's so apparent, to be honest. Like
Mhm.
it's I don't know, that whole I'm and then the one thing I would have to say is applaud to Tyler Perry for allowing
That's
them
so
to stay.
yeah. That is very
I
cool.
didn't And the cool thing is that I didn't even hear about it. Like he was just like, I'm doing
No.
this for like my friends. I'm helping them out. Like he
Mhm.
wasn't even like, like as far as I know, like going, hey, I did this for this royal family. Like he was just
No,
like
that's
genuinely,
very kind. Yeah.
right.
He went
And
he
it
went
makes,
above and beyond a friend like yeah, like he was very
yeah, yeah. And I think that's like really dignifying. I think the
yeah.
way he, as a friend, I would like to have that as a friend in my court.
Yeah.
But it's
You said
sad
that you
because like
watched
here.
you said you watched Princess Diana documentary. Why is it that they put her in such a bad light? Because obviously the race card wasn't an issue with that one. But yet like they didn't they put her through the ringer too.
No, I didn't watch the documentary. I
No?
listened to the
Okay.
conspiracy theory of her
Oh, okay.
on a
Did it say
podcast.
anything?
Um, it was like, okay, so they mentioned it really lightly, and it was something about
Yeah.
her title not being as high up there as like another potential person that they could have matched her with.
Oh.
And then another one was that like
Gosh, I hate
she
this type of like
Yeah, it was
It's
that.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a few different things. It was like her title, or it was that her title was too high and like she was just forced into it, or and then there was another one, and obviously the infidelity and stuff too. But honestly, I don't know. Oh, and also because she was always like she wasn't as docile as
Oh
the
yeah, she
other.
spoke her
Yeah,
mind. Hmm.
yeah, she was like, look, nope, that's not happening. Nope, I'm not gonna do this, and it's very sweet how much she loved her children. Even
Hmm.
Harry was saying that like if it wasn't for the money that his mom left
I
him after
know.
death, that like they wouldn't be able to because he got cut off, which is so
Mhm.
sad
Uh,
again.
that's what I'm telling you. Like, I just think that because they just felt like he, I don't know. Because he's not a legitimate son of Prince Charles. Like, I feel like that plays into it, but who knows?
It's really sad that like all of a sudden he just got cut off. But like the thing was, even when they were in Canada, it wasn't like they left. They were still working for the royal family. They were just taking
Right.
like a small seat back, which is
Normal.
okay. Yeah, but it was one of those situations where it was like, damn if you do or damn if you don't for them,
Yeah.
And it made me really sad to like see, Megan like say that like she was having these thoughts where like she didn't have a way out besides that one option.
Oh,
And
it's so sad.
to think
'Cause-
that you can't get counseling because you're royalty, and as royalty you're not supposed to have problems, which again, just because you're rich or have everything or is in a beautiful relationship, it doesn't mean that you don't have moments of depression.
Mhm.
Like I think like that was one of the big things for me too, like on YouTube when I told people that look, I do deal with mental health stuff, and a lot of
Mhm.
the comments was, but you always seem so happy, or oh, but you are
Mhm.
a YouTuber and blah blah blah. And it's just like, just because you have all these things doesn't mean you don't have
Is
emotions.
everything done? Yeah, like even with like, with you and us knowing each other for so long and everything, I didn't know that you had any type of, issues or whatnot, and like I mean, I was very fortunate to be one of the people that you turn to at some point, in your the time of need to reach out like for help and whatnot. Like I definitely didn't take that lightly. And like people don't see that. They don't see
Yeah,
that, and they see like again the happy face that you put on, because who wants to see someone so sad all the time, like that's such a really a downer, you know what I mean? Like who wants to see that? Like no one wants to see that. And
and it's
everybody
not
does
even.
go, yeah.
Oh no, go ahead. I was just saying that it's not even like you not wanting to see that. It's like also you not wanting to feel that or project that
Yeah.
either. It's like
Yeah.
I know I feel this way, but
At some
if I'm
point,
in.
did you feel like ashamed that you weren't strong enough to, you know what I mean? Like I feel like sometimes people go through that, feeling shameful, like not being able to be, having those weak moments. And I think that's very human.
Oh yeah, and oh totally. I think the shame was a huge factor because
Totally.
it really um it the shame factor in the sense of like when people tell you you have all of these things
Yep.
and you still feel like crap, you're just like, then what is then why am I here? Like I am wasting this blessed life that I've given, and I still feel
Hmm.
like this. I don't deserve this, and it made it even
Yeah.
worse, right?
It's
So it's
like
the same
it's
with
your
me.
mind controlling your thoughts, and it's like it's hard to, and that's the most, I think that's the most scary thing, is that like I feel like all the other stuff you could totally like cancer, yes, it's hard, but you could at least fight it physically. But when it comes to your mind that it's controlling your thoughts, that's the most hardest, like demon you have to fight. And it also
Yeah,
doesn't help that in Asian culture, even
yeah,
getting therapy or mental health, or getting mental health, that was shamed upon, like it
oh yeah,
shouldn't be ashamed. Like, I remember talking to my friend in Malaysia when I had gone through it. Like I think he had gone through some things, and I had said like, well, why didn't you go talk to someone to help you? And he was like, in the culture, you can't do that. Like you can't do
yeah.
that. So like so you're expected to do this alone, like, and have no one to talk to? Like No, that's just so difficult.
You don't air your grievances. You don't talk
Yeah.
about your struggles. You just pretty much buckle up, buttercup, and do what
Yeah.
you're supposed to do, right? And it's like, and if you already have everything and you're successful and you're all this and that, and you still feel like this, then you are wasting, you're not being grateful. But
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that you're not grateful. You're absolutely gracious for it. It's just that you can't help what your brain,
Yeah.
the chemicals in your head is doing. That's all, you know.
I mean, I think this is actually a pretty great segue into if we want to talk about Britney because we have like what 15 minutes, but I can
Oh yeah,
totally go over. But if we
yeah,
want to talk about Britney, like same thing with her, having that mental breakdown because she was going through such like huge transition in her life and everything, and also like people controlling her things like her like actions around her. She has no other way but to act out, in the
yeah.
ways that she did. And like the tabloids ate that up and painted her to
They
be a very unstable person.
they villainized her, right? Like
Yes,
they're doing the same thing with Meghan as they did with Britney. They
totally.
villainized her. They made her to look like the promiscuous
Yep.
American girl, and and that she's not a good representation for teenage girls.
Yep.
And I would have to admit this. Like I remember when I was 12. And I
Mm.
can't remember which one it was, which video she was in, but she was barely wearing anything. And I read some of the magazines saying, oh, she's like way too naked. She's not supposed to do that, this and that. And so then I was
Mm.
at lunch with my friends and we were talking about it. And I was like, ugh, can you believe it? She like wore nothing on this video shoot. And the girl that I was talking to looked at me and was just like, and so what? And like for a minute, I had to check myself at
Yeah.
13. I was just like, wait a minute, why is that? Like, why does it matter? You know, like I
Yeah.
had to like stop and think,
It was it
wait,
was probably that
why?
video. It was that video where
Yeah,
she wore a glitter bodysuit, wasn't it?
yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And like the girl told me, she's like, so why does it matter? Like, why do you care? And I was just like,
Yep.
you're right. Like, I really don't care. Like, I don't care if you're walking around in a thong in front of me in the cafeteria. Like, why am I repeating
Yeah.
this thing that I read in the magazine, you know? But I'm so glad that like that girl like checked me right there, you know?
That's
Um,
good.
yeah. I mean, we weren't like great friends or anything. We're just like, cafeteria peers.
Cafeteria
But
buddies.
yeah. And like, and a lot of people at the school didn't really care for her. But like, I think, she was very like, that was one thing that stuck with me. I was just like, why do I care? Like that, it doesn't really matter. I really don't
Yeah.
care. And now that I think back on it, I was like, yeah, the media made her look like this. Oh my goodness, women being sexual and having a body, and it's like,
It is just
oh,
so, yeah, it's so like, can I say like sexist? Because,
oh, totally.
like the same thing with like women having multiple sexual partners and she's a slut, where compared to guys who have multiple sexual partners and he's a what is it, prowess or
Yeah.
like he's king. And the fact of the matter, like let's talk about Justin Timberlake and her dating, which I completely forgot about. But the
Oh
fact that
yeah.
through the whole time, tried to uphold her virginity, um, for her like young fans, and he goes on, I think Howard Stern, and said, "Yeah, I
Hmm.
tapped that." Like,
Yeah.
what? Come
Yeah.
on, dude!
Yeah.
Like he was actually, I was never a huge fan of him because I feel like every time I listened to his songs, it was very catchy at first, but then after a while, it gets really old very quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, after hearing that, I was like, dude, you are a monster.
Yeah. I mean, I was always a fan of Justin. So I'm on the other spectrum,
Yeah.
but I and I do that, like I do think some of the like, what is it? His values as far as like family and marriage and stuff is like really sweet. But the thing is, I do think that he was a puppet that was in the media as well. And I'm not saying that like I am defending him. Like by all means, like he also had a choice too, and he was a man. He could have been an ally for Britney or Janet
Mm-hmm.
Jackson for that
Mm-hmm.
matter.
Yep.
But he wasn't. He felt like he was he added to the problem,
Yeah.
and he did make a statement. He apologized for it. Whether he means it or not, I don't know. We'll just have to see with actions for the future.
He
But
apologized when?
this was like right after the documentary went out. He did like
Oh,
an apology. Yeah, he said that
well, that's
like,
nice.
yeah, he said that it was like, I'm gonna try to paraphrase here. He says that like,
Yeah.
he felt as it was the media at the time, and he played into it, and he
Hmm.
should have said something, but he also didn't know better that he should have said something. And now that
True.
he
He
looks
was
back,
young. Yeah.
yeah, now because he was like what, 16, 17, and all
He
that,
was
and then
very
he's like,
young.
now that he looks back, he says that those actions were not okay, and that
Yeah.
he needs to do better, which I do hope. And I do hope that maybe he learns from all of that. And
Yeah.
what his, because even his one of his songs, Crimea River, I mean, the girl that was in Crimea River looked like Britney Spears, and it was
Yeah.
like, when they broke up, everyone made it seem like she cheated on him or whatever.
Right.
And you know if she did or she didn't, it doesn't matter. Like when it comes to
Hmm.
infidelity, like when you go through the process of infidelity, it's so complex. It's not as simple as
Hmm.
like, someone just walking out in a relationship. There's so much more embedded in,
Right.
in that whole process. So
Also,
like,
she made her apology through the video every time, which is actually one of my like favorite song out there of hers. Um, but like I felt like she did her part in that sense, you know. I don't know.
yeah, I think there was like a rumor that she might have was talking to another guy while she was dating Justin. But then there's also this other part where like, was Justin's and Britney's relationship even real, or was it just for like a
Right.
PR kind of situation
Was it made?
too? So
Yes, I know.
yeah, so we don't know the behind the scenes, but it's very apparent that they both were used in a way to tell
Mhm.
a certain story. Because
Mhm.
from what I see, it just looks like this girl cheated on this, golden boy, and
Mhm.
the same thing with the Super Bowl with Janet Jackson's like boob hanging out, which it's a
Yeah.
boob, whatever.
It was
Even when I
covered.
yeah, there was yeah. So like when I saw that, even I
Mhm.
don't even remember when that was, but when that was going around in the news, I was just like, why is this even news? Like, why is this even a
Mhm.
thing? Like, who cares? But like you see him like, rip it off of her like top, and like
Yeah.
um but like, everyone like pretty much like ran Janet through the ringer, and Justin kind of just like walked away just fine. Again,
Yeah. That's.
patriarchy,
Oh my
you know,
God.
and all of that, and not a fan. But he apologized for that too. But it's very apparent how like, everyone was used to be seen a certain way, and
What happened
it's
was probably that was actually part of the show, but because it
yep,
was not seen very, positively in the press,
yeah.
that they said, oh, it was a wardrobe malfunction
But yeah, but
to try
then you
to
look at
write
it,
that off.
yeah, but clearly it was on purpose, because he like, you see him reached
Yeah.
over, pull it down, and then her nipple was like covered with like a little pasty.
Pasties, yeah, like it's
Yeah,
totally covered, totally PG 13.
yeah. So like, so how is that, like, it's intentional, right? Like if it was an accident, then you
Tell
wouldn't
me,
probably have a
tell me how.
pasty. I don't know.
Okay, and then tell me how is that like offensive? Whereas you see like bikini bottoms that have both your butt cheeks out, and that's still because you have some material between there that is considered decency. Come on now.
Right? I don't know. Again, and then, but then it also goes back to the whole like breastfeeding in public as well, right?
I
Like,
think that's
uh,
BS.
I'm like, it's a boob. It's
To
not.
to be clear, BS as in people having being offended by something like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
because it's very natural, not the other way. Where
yeah,
I'm like, oh my God,
yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
offensive because she should have that covered. No,
No, no,
and
no.
and
Yeah, I got where
people
you're
need
coming from.
to people need to freaking take their stick out their ass, and like it's a time in this time of age where like we are adults. We have seen all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like it shouldn't phase us anymore, and yet people are just like, oh my gosh, my eyes. Wait, let's please. We have to go back to the topic of conservatorship. Like, what the
Oh,
f? Brittany
oh,
is a grown ass woman, okay, and she is
oh
still controlled by
gosh.
her father. Come on.
And the thing is, like, he's controlled by her for $1 million a year. Like, that's how much his
That's
income
effed
is
up.
to take
Effed up.
care of her. Which is like, I definitely don't live on $1 million. Definitely
No.
don't live on $1 million a year. And I think I am doing pretty well where, like, you know, there's a college fund, we have food, we do some donations, and
Yeah.
just fine, right? Like, I can't imagine, like, I just can't. Like, I really cannot. Like, if I were to be a conservator of my daughter, for example, and if
Yeah.
anything happens, right? I don't think I would feel good taking an income. Actually,
That
you know
is
what? Hold on. Let me roll
so
that
effed
back.
up.
So
Yeah.
let me roll that back. So, like, you know, when I did used to do like sponsorships and collaborations or whatever, and if my daughter was in the photos, how I did it was that she took 80% and I took the 20%. So the 20% was more for like me brokering, editing, time, materials that I had to buy for, like, you know, the video or the just the setup of the photo, right? The 80% went straight into her college fund. You know,
Okay.
because she was in the photos, and that was a choice I made for her and
Yeah.
myself, right? Now, if it was a sponsorship with just me, then obviously I keep the 100%. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, that in itself is like, even I felt like, even though I know I was only taking the 20%, like I still felt some
Well,
kind of like
that's the
guilt.
difference between you and her dad. You actually
Yeah.
have like morals, you know, like
Yeah. So
and a sense of
yeah. So like,
empathy, and he just money grabbing, you know. Ugh.
yeah, so like if I ever had to do some kind of conservatory like for my daughter, which I'm pretty sure, I hope not, I don't think I would feel okay like taking more than my time is worth, you know?
Yeah.
And I like
The
I'm not
very same, and the fact that she still fights against this conservatorship, she just like she agreed, I think at one point, it's like anyone but my dad, you know, can do
yeah.
this, and the court denied her that. I don't know for what reason, but it's just crazy. And like her only way to fight back is to stop working. You haven't seen an album come out of her. You haven't seen her, like, she literally walked out of Vegas, not coming
Yeah.
back, because she wanted to be against all this. Like, you know, the less that she works out there, the less money that goes into her dad's pockets. And they didn't really have like a great relationship from when she like started onward. You know, it was really most of her, like her mom, that's helping her through that, and the other lady.
Yeah. I don't know. And the thing is, like, I heard that like once you get into one, it's very hard to get out of one.
That is so ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like,
and
why?
yeah, and I think that like the reason why she only got into one at the get-go was because it was a way for her to still be around her children,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
heard that too.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, honestly, like
Ugh.
I'm not gonna lie, like when it comes to my kid, like there might be choices that I make that might not seem very sane if it means protecting my child. Like the whole her having to go get her kid, and then the paparazzi was there and she was upset and she like bashed him with
Yeah.
the umbrella and stuff. Like if
Yeah.
I was in that case where if I hadn't seen my daughter for X amount of time, or like if I can't see her, if I can't be around her, I'm not going to guarantee that I'm not going to bash a window or two.
Yeah.
Like that is just a
Yeah.
very natural motherly instinct. And if you think about like the court system, when it comes to, you know, custody and stuff like that, like whoever is made to look like, when you're in the custody battle, whoever is made to look like the villain will have to fight so much harder to be able to see their children. And I can imagine, like, you know, I've known some people who've gone through custody battles, and I could just only imagine how much money that costs, how time consuming it is, how mentally draining it is to be painted as like a bad parent that you can't see your children. Now, I mean, this doesn't say that there are situations where like a parent is like actually horrible and shouldn't be around the child. Like that's a separate topic. But there are cases where, you know, one parent is considered the bad parent and such. And I could only imagine how frustrating that could be for Britney and why she would have done the thing that she did, you know? Like I had a chat with with Papa Bear about because we're going through her repeating bad words right now.
Oh no.
And yeah, she learned oh shit from
Oh
him
no.
a couple of weeks ago. And so now when she drops stuff, she goes, oh shit. And
Oh.
yeah. And it's very like it's just very yeah, it's just very casual. She'll just drop her stuff and go, oh shit. Like it's just
Oh
very whatever.
no.
And I try, like I laugh inside because it's like
Yeah.
hilarious, right? But I can't you can't show emotions because if you laugh then they think
No.
it's funny, so they keep doing it.
Yep.
But if you get super angry or not angry or like, oh no, don't do it, please don't say that,
Yeah,
then
you
they
make a
will
big deal
keep
out
doing
of
it.
it. Yep.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
that's what he does. And so now she says it in front of him all the time just to get like
Oh
a rise out
no.
of him. So we had this conversation about like about curse words and stuff, and he says, well, what if she says it in school and she goes and shows up at the principal all the time? And I was just like, if the principal is going to suspend my kid because of a curse word, I will fight to the death to like make sure that that is not a thing because it's a word. Like
Yeah.
as long as it's not like derogatory towards a group of people or actually meant to hurt someone, I could care less. But like Papa Bear's very into the whole no, she can't say at all. And I get it. Don't get me wrong. Like I get it. Like we
Yeah.
wouldn't want her to like be in the principal's office all the time, but at the same time,
Right.
like it's
You
if
kind of have to nip it in the bud early.
yeah, but at the same time, like if she's gonna be expelled from school over a word, then I'm probably gonna have some problems too.
No, I don't think
Um,
that she would get expelled, but she will be, be taken at least to be talked to. But yeah,
yeah.
like at her age is very impressionable, so he needs to be careful what he says around her.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we all
But I
know
did tell
that.
him. Yeah, I told him, I was just like, look, in your professional field, people are always using curse words. It's not like that's not something that
Right.
adults don't do, right?
You
So
have to
how
be
about
careful. Yeah.
yeah, the medium ground for me would be is at home, you drop any F bombs, S bombs you want around me. I really don't care as long as it's not towards me, right? Like if you
Yeah.
throw the B
Yeah.
word at me and call me a B word, we will have a
Uh-huh.
problem. But you can drop it whatever you want. Just, don't do it at school. And I think if she
Yeah.
feels like then that like that the power of that word gets taken away.
Hmm.
It's like if you can't say it at home and you can't say it at school, then where are you going to say it? Around your friends and then maybe at school when your
I
teacher's not
suppose.
listening, right? Yeah. But I
Hmm.
think the point is that like I like and it's also the same thing as like, oh, if she gets sent home for wearing like a certain like like a tube top or a spaghetti strap or something, like I would
Hmm.
probably like fight the principal to make sure that she has that right. Because
Hmm.
I mean, just as a mom, it's like a feminist thing, right? Like how many times our girls get sent home from school because they're wearing something that
Mm.
boys can't control themselves or whatever. So I think it just goes back to like, if as a mom, I understand that there are certain things that you might do that might not seem rational. And I can understand, in that state where she's already Brittany going through so much that, it might look a little bit more extra than what it actually is. Now, do I think it's okay to like, hit someone with an umbrella or their car with an umbrella? Probably not, because I
Hmm.
think there still should be order in the world, right? But do
I
I
mean,
feel like,
it's the same thing where like I don't agree with these paparazzi. They're all there for to get money, obviously for that money shot. But it's exactly the same thing that Princess Diana went through that cost her life. Is that the
yep,
paparazzis don't have boundaries where they would do
yep,
whatever it takes to get that money shot, no matter the consequence. And that's where someone needs to step in and put some freaking like some freaking rules around it or laws around something like that. It's like they're people still, they're still allowed to be able to like, if they don't want to have the picture taken, they have every right to request that. And you shouldn't force it
yeah.
upon someone.
And I mean, it comes down to the bottom line, like money. I mean, the magazine sells,
Really.
the paparazzi gets money, the royal family probably gets some kind of incentive. Britney's
Well,
managers probably get some kind of incentive.
the fact that they had little parties for tabloids, so they could be running
Yeah,
good stories. Like I just find that to me that was a surprise. I was just like,
yeah,
wait, what? You know,
yeah.
wine and dine tabloids.
Yeah, it's clearly a relationship, and same with Britney. Like they said that it was the peak, like the beginning stages of paparazzi culture, and
Yeah.
she used it, and but at first it was kind of like, oh, a way to get her her fame out there, but then once then you trade in something
Yeah.
for fame, right? You lose privacy, you lose the ability to live like a normal person. And it honestly just got too much, to the point where like that the umbrella was sold on eBay or something too.
It was. I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, the
Oh
umbrella got
God.
sold. I don't know how much, but I heard it was like an insane amount of money that she used to to hit the guy's car window. So
He
it's
was in the documentary too, talking about
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. And
I
he
mean,
said he felt
I think he felt sad, he felt bad that she was going through all that, but he still didn't feel bad getting that money.
yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, everyone have some level of moral compass, but I think sometimes the moral compass get diluted by money.
Mm-hmm.
When you have to pay rent, when you have mouths to feed and stuff, sometimes you don't make the wisest of choices. I do hope that the guy, I don't know, reach out to her and apologize. I don't know, do some good with the money that he did make off of her. Maybe take a better step um in a positive light. I don't know, but it's just
People
I
have to
get it.
give people have to give like celebrities grace, because
Yeah.
if you are continuously violated their boundaries, their personal space and everything, you don't think that one day they will crack. Same thing with
Yeah.
Meghan, on how like I think either like the help or whatever said that she was has a few times lashed out at her or at him. Can you understand why? Because she is under like so much like scrutiny, and also being feeling lonely, things like that, that at some point people are gonna break, like she's allowed to have some of those moments to be able to like, I mean, I understand lashing out at things is not never a good idea, but sometimes people do snap,
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
unconsciously, and like, I'm sure that she felt bad afterwards. But in
Yeah.
overall, I would say that I see her as, a good person. Someone who someone who like could talk to. I think there was another TikTok video that I saw. It was actually a person who was a fan, and she had reached out to her over Twitter or something like that, and they were chatting. They were both chatting quite a bit. And then
Aw.
one of her interview with I forget who, uh Meghan said, I think someone here that I actually wanted to say hello to, like she's in the audience, and she brought her up
Aw.
and like talked to her and everything, and said that like let's talk after the show, and she like talked after the show. No, someone who's like not so genuine wouldn't do that. Like you would
Yeah.
have like a two-face, you would be tried, like you would fake nice to someone but really don't follow through. People who are not nice do not follow through. Her actions, from at least from what I can see, has that. She, I don't know. I do think that she's a very compassionate person who, even from the very beginning, has always been very vocal about women's rights, and that she linked herself to the Little Mermaid, who,
Yeah.
was able to like find her prince, but then she lost her voice along the way. And
Yeah.
now she was able to gain it through and tell her story through Oprah, which I don't think had she stayed in the UK that she would have been able to do that.
Yeah. And it's what was I supposed to say? Like overall, the general like opinion I have of Megan is always like a good one. Like I've
Yeah.
never, even with whatever the tabloids have said, like I've never like thought, oh gosh, she's a conniving. Like she just never gave off that energy to me. Because there's some
Mm-hmm.
people that you can kind of just pick up that vibe, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
know, But like she never had that energy to me, and saying how they met, like doing like volunteer work and stuff is
Yeah,
like
that's
again,
amazing.
again really awesome, and you know
Mm-hmm.
it, like overall I don't think it's just, if you're put under a microscope you're gonna find something negative about someone, like regardless of what it is. And, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it could be a piece of toast. It could be, I don't know, some mistake you made when you were like young. Um, it, it's just, it's unfortunate that, you know, there's money to be made. I bet you if there wasn't any money to be made about all this gossip and drama, then people wouldn't be talking about it. It's the same with like YouTube drama. Like if
Yeah,
it
very.
wasn't for money, I don't think there's a lot of tea channels that would be, you know, still like doing what they're doing, you know?
Yeah, totally,
Um,
totally.
I mean, at the same, it kind of puts me in like a weird, I always question like myself too. Is like, okay, this crafty mess channel, like, am I adding to the problem, or are we having like an actual discussion? And that's the reason why I always try to like be very
Yeah.
thorough of like what we're talking about. And also
Mm-hmm.
as far like as my wording of things and my opinions, I try to not be very like this or that or shame
Right.
on you, you know, things like
Right.
that. Because it's,
Yeah,
you never,
it's the same thing for me too. When you had mentioned about, you know, having a gossip tea channel, I was just like, well, do we want to be
yeah.
part of the problem or part of the solution? You know, and at the end of the day, I think it's more of us shedding a different, hopefully a different perspective for people out there. You know what I mean? Who might not see it in a different way. And like, I don't want to be part of the problem, but I definitely like want to be able to like, you know, just help like see things in a different way, you know, a different perspective at the end of the day.
And I think it's important that like you can just even see it on like the trend of our videos. We don't
Yeah,
stick to one person for every
yeah,
single video. Like we literally jump through topics because we live
right,
in a world of like billions of people. So there's going to be news everywhere, right?
right.
Um, and I think it's important that like, you know, when we talk about it, we don't add more negativity to it. It's just more like, hey, there's a way to do certain things and see certain things. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess like I don't want to be another one of those channel where it's just like, oh, we're not drama channel, like we're not, you know how like sometimes people are always like, "Ah, I'm not a drama channel," but they end up being a
Mm-hmm.
tea channel anyways. But like I try, I mean, we're
And
not,
like, and think about it, if we
uh,
weren't YouTubers, you know what I mean, but we're still like viewers of YouTube channels and things like that, we would still
yeah,
be calling each other up and talking about this as
oh yeah,
girlfriends, you know. And like the
yeah,
only thing is that, you know, now we are, you know, we have this channel that our take is also crafting, and
yeah,
it's one of those, it's called like the bitch and stitch
yeah.
kind of like concept.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just I think as far as you and I, like I think we have more of like a positive outlook on people and ways
Yeah.
to handle things, and I think it's always good to also share that to the world too, because there's too much negative ways the news is being shared or information is being shared, and sometimes people just like to hyper focus on the really bad parts,
Yeah.
and we need a different voice too. And maybe, yeah, on the surface, it might feel like it's not like we're just another gossip channel or whatever. But I think if you dive a little bit more, I don't think that's the only thing we do, you know?
Okay. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I do.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's yeah, I think that was like a little hard one for me going through like the bullet points. I was just like, yeah, but then look at us, we're sitting here talking about these people too. But then it's like we're compassionate on their like
Yeah.
experiences, and I think
Yeah.
that's all people can do is be compassionate about it. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
just put yourself in their shoes for a little bit, you know, instead of
Mm-hmm.
tearing them down and stuff and seeing. You know Bethany Frankel from the Real Housewives of New York, the one that does
Yeah, she's very
Skinny
familiar.
Marg.
She
Yeah, the
sounds
one that
familiar.
does
I
this.
don't know who she is.
Yeah, she's the owner of Skinny Margarita and the Skinny Cocktail line.
Oh, okay.
Uh, okay, yeah. So she on Twitter was just, I think the day before the interview came out, she kind of like wrote something. She's like, "Oh, okay, a prince and a princess living in a royal palace, talking about their problems and woes. Oh, I can't relate to that." Like just being really petty, and and like again, it's one of those things where like on the outside, you know, you're wondering what is there for them to be complaining about their royalties, right? And even Bethany Frankel made that statement on Twitter, so it goes to shows again that like um not everything is so surface level, you know.
Right.
So
Right. And like
so yeah,
mental illness hits everyone at every status. So
yeah.
it
Oh
does,
yeah,
yeah, so it's not about yeah, it doesn't discriminate. So and people have to take this, if she hadn't voiced it, and just like even like the first step of accepting that she has a problem,
hmm,
she would have continued down that spiral. So I'm glad that she was
yeah.
able to be able to confide in Harry for that. Otherwise, I think it would have gone a different way.
Yeah, and even Harry said that he was having his, moments as well, and realizing how trapped he was actually feeling, but not understanding
Right,
that that is a feeling.
because yeah, because you're always living through that and it's as is and no one questioned about it, and yeah, you're part of the cycle. But
Yep.
it took Megan to be part of in his life to snap him out of it and say, hey, this is actually not normal, this is very suffocating and you need to get out. Like, and I'm glad that he woke up to that.
Yeah, it's like
And
what's that?
because I think also he saw that a lot of that a lot of what Megan has been doing too, it really reminds of his mom, and he really
Yeah,
didn't want that to history repeating, and it just seemed like it was going to go that way had like
yeah,
if no one stepped in.
yeah. It's just, I mean, it goes to what's his name, the philosopher Socrates. He's like, if
Yeah,
you live in a cave and you only see shadows for the rest of your life, that's all you know as your
yeah,
reality. It's just a
yeah.
bunch of shadows. So it's the
Hmm.
same thing. Like if you're born into royalty all of your life, like you don't know what actual life might be like on the outskirts. So
Right, and if no one tells you any differently, like who are you gonna, who are you gonna believe?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, how's that any different than like being in a cult, to be honest? I mean, they kind of rid you. No, they really like hold
No,
information
it's
from
so
you.
true. Hmm.
Um, what else? They emotionally manipulate you sometimes. They
Yeah,
hold finances over you. There's scare tactics and like, oh, you're totally gonna fail if you leave this family. Like
yeah.
it's quote unquote a cult,
Oh, yeah, it's,
you know,
ugh.
cult like.
I'm glad he was able to wake up.
Yeah, I think it's just because like now that I've like really like dived into the Jonestown uh massacre, it's like okay, I'm kind of leery of any kind of big following of any sort.
Hmm.
So yeah, just letting everyone know that if you follow us, you're not following a cult. Yeah, we're not gonna hold anything over you. No emotional manipulation here. We got
Yeah.
free will. Wink, wink. All right, guys. That
This
is
was
our
fun.
two
I was very
topics.
excited about this topic, like these topics here. So, yeah, I hope people enjoy
Um,
that.
I think we're gonna try to do Instagram like bits and bites like during the week and stuff. Just to,
Yeah.
I guess, like small updates. So we're gonna figure out how to do that. It's probably gonna be like a couple of minutes long, just to be like, oh my gosh, you guys hear this, and then
Yeah,
hop
because I
off. You
feel
know?
like, right, because I feel like sometimes stories will pop up in the middle, like after we have done a session, and maybe there are thoughts that we want to continue to talk about it or shed some light. And the Instagram recently came out with Live Room, which I thought that was pretty cool because
Yeah.
we can host an impromptu live session on CrafteaMess channel, the Instagram channel, and then maybe invite some of you guys along as like a guest. You can pop in for your thoughts and everything and then pop out. So that
Yeah.
would be pretty cool to get some like
Yeah.
some interactions with that.
Yeah, and especially like little stories too. Like
Yeah.
the Gorilla Glue girl has some updates. James Charles has some
Oh,
updates, and
maybe we should do those two for the next live room thing.
yeah, because there's just so many tiny little things that kind of pop up, and
Hmm.
your opinions change as those things like kind of
Yeah.
flourishes as well. So all
Yeah, when more
right,
information comes to light.
yeah. So let's see. I guess what's our next one? Next Friday, we're gonna have
Next
another live
Friday.
stream. And you can always follow us on Instagram. And we're not very active on Twitter and TikTok quite yet. We're
Not
just
yet.
not very active
We
on social
will.
media yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fortunate, but also unfortunate because like we have lives outside of the internet.
Yeah.
uh, and it's also because it's my fault. I fall into rabbit holes, so I don't like update things. So that's my
Yeah.
excuse. Mel, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I honestly scared. No, I think this is good. Like, yeah, just follow us on our channels and then we'll definitely update you whenever we can. Um, and yeah. But
All right.
honestly, remember that no matter the tea.
Try not to overstep other people's boundaries. Bye, guys.
Bye.